how art history can connect with my future career as a behavior analyst for the FBI. This piece intrigued me because of its applications as a theft deterrent. It was the first lock-type device found in art history. It shows how even in the first settled societies, there was a need to protect valuables from theft. The need for protection was also shown in the presence of the Law Code of Hammurabi. The first set of formal written laws that we know of makes it apparent that all through history, humans have needed a system to govern themselves with. In Roman society, we find the basilica in the center of city life. This shows the rise in importance of law. In this depiction of Christ, he is shown as the protector and nurturer. This side of Christ reflects what law enforcement aspires to be, a protector and servant of the people. Here, Christ is shown as the judge. This is what the average person sees law enforcement as: the stern, serious giver of sentence and punishment.
The oldest love poem is written in cuneiform, which is the first written language. As an educator, we use written language in almost our everyday life and everything, whether it's writing on a whiteboard or reading it from a book or the bullet points in our PowerPoints. We use it every day. This cave painting, Men Taunting a Deer, could have been used to teach people in the tribe how to hunt. So this is an example of art teaching, which is what I as an educator will be doing with students. I will be teaching them how to do things, or about history, or how to solve a math equation. This vase by Exekias is telling a story about Achilles and Ajax playing dice. As an educator, that's basically what we do every day. We tell a story. We tell a story about how to solve a math equation. We tell a story. We just tell stories. That's how people educate. Flavian Amphitheater is a good example of people coming together in a community, and they come together for a sporting event or to just hang out and be with one another. And in the education system, you're essentially joining a community. You're becoming part of a larger family of colleagues and students. And a lot of these education systems will have something almost like an amphitheater. They'll have a football stadium or even an indoor gymnasium where a lot of the times the whole population will come together to witness a sporting event or have an assembly to talk about what's going on in the community.
A major thing radiologists need to be able to do is collaborate, whether it be with patients to explain the results from testing or other professionals to figure out where the problem may be. The Great Pyramids at Giza are an excellent example of what people can accomplish when working together, as it took an army of laborers working together under the instruction of supervisors and kings, much in the same way hospitals are run today. Another good example would be how the use of black and red figure painting spread. Black figure painting was a popular technique in Greece in the early 6th century. But soon artists realized that doing it in the opposite way, red figure, was actually more effective and easier to see, so it quickly spread as the dominant art form over the black figure paintings. Just like how more effective treatments for illnesses and problems quickly spreads in medicine today. Sculptors also need to have a working knowledge of the human form. Augustus of Prima Porta shows this fact in the detail throughout the statue, though this particular one is supposed to be of a more youthful ideal image. Another example would be the portrait head of an elder from Scapito, to also acknowledge in an examination. The last thing a radiologist needs to know is how to work with medical equipment or tools. People have been using tools for well over 1,000,000 years, and they are even more important today than they were back then. One of the earliest examples would be the Paleolithic hand axe. This tool served both a physical purpose, such as hunting or preparing food, and a representational purpose in the way that it was carved to show the social standing of the owner.
As a professional in the nursing field, there are many career responsibilities. Some of these responsibilities can be represented by art from the prehistorical through the medieval period. Polykleitos of Argos, spear bearer, represents the knowledge needed for human anatomy and physiology. Nurses must know how the perfect body properly performs. The spear bearer's sculpture is a perfect display of ratio and proportion. The sculpture represents symmetry. It has perfect balance and patterns of tension and relaxation. Apollonius of Athens, the seated boxer, represents the knowledge needed to heal the damaged human body. Nurses must have the nerves and the skills to attend to injuries, wounds, and other health ailments. The seated boxer's body is covered in injuries from boxing match. His cheeks and his nose are very badly injured, his ears are damaged, and his body is carrying scars, wounds, and blood. His face also has emotional features of exhaustion and pain. The seated scribe represents the record-keeping required for all nurses. Every patient has a medical record. Nurses must chart all cares, daily activities, and medications given to the patient. This information will be included in the medical history records. The scribe records information on the papyrus he is holding. The lamentation with standing monastic saints below represent the end of life psychology that nurses need to have knowledge of. Death and dying is an unescapable element of nursing. Nurses must have the skills to care for dying patients and their families. The lamentation represents the Virgin Mary and the saints mourning over the deceased body of Jesus Christ. Mary cradles her son with her body and pulls him towards her face. Mary is emotional and embracing Jesus for the final time. St. John and the other saints touch Jesus and weep on their knees. The lamentation expresses human grief.
Food education plays an important role in nutrition and has been used for many thousands of years. The bird-handed man with bison is an example of how humans in the Paleolithic period could have used cave paintings to educate others on how to survive through hunting. In my field as a dietitian, my responsibility will be to find ways to educate my clients on what foods and how much of certain foods they will need for their bodies in order to have a healthy lifestyle. The mosaics at San Vitale of Justinian and his wife Theodora show that food can be used to symbolize a religious belief as well as political power. This awareness will help me to connect with people from different religious or political backgrounds and remind me that I will need to take those backgrounds into consideration when making dietary plans with my clients. Islamic art focuses on the natural world around. The Umayyad Mosque in Damascus shows how much the Islamic people appreciated the natural creation around them. I too will use natural elements to influence my practice. I want to be able to use whole foods to help connect people with their bodies and nature. When I was thinking about this project, the Riachi warrior stood out to me. I think it reminds me that most of the time people try to strive to be so human that they're not. Sometimes people use food to try and morph their bodies into something they see as perfection when it isn't natural at all. In nutrition, I want to be able to communicate with my clients on the importance of how they feel more than how they look. I want to be able to use food in order for them to gain confidence, a clear mind, and energy, rather than be so worried about meeting the cultural standards of physical beauty.
With a lot on my mind, and I'm looking for me a woman, but she's mighty hard to find. Lord, ask my country cousin, check the hottest spots in town. Oh, that little bitty woman, well, she just ain't around. Hey, oh, I'm looking, catchy high and low, don't wanna miss the spot, keep it on the go. Watching that woman's got you. I need just a little bitty woman, how much you'll never know.